Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron.
I'm Thom.
I'm Dan.
And we are here at the table.
Yes.
Doing an after action report. We decided we were going to try a different format. Because there were a three-way, as it were, a three-way after action report to be clear. So since it was a campaign, and I had the pleasure of playing against both of you gentlemen
in a three-way,
in a three-way game, it was just a series of one-way games.
Yeah, it's true.
Which was an epic finale, Thom, by the way.
Yeah. So Dan, you played one or two games.
Dan played just one.
Yeah.
Okay, you played the first one.
Dan played the first one,
and then you called in
the
reinforcements.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few things tonight.
Yeah.
So first thing is, instead of like going through the battle ad nauseum, we were going to talk about just reflections on the overall structure of the campaign, narrative style, right? How it worked out from like a missions perspective, a force balance perspective, and also talk a little bit about maybe what's coming next.
Okay.
Maybe we'll sprinkle in some other things there if we so desire. Okay. So
Yeah.
why don't we start with more about the style, so the narrative style. So traditionally, our older style campaigns were based on the Catalyst Game Labs Chaos campaign system, and we had modified that heavily, right, with Kevin back in the day. And we basically would rigorously pick lists. There's a formula, a rule. The rules are still out there on the website for download. A lot of people still use them.
Yeah.
You basically set a force value, right? Like I'm going to play with 20,000 battle value, and you pre-select all of your mechs. As they take damage, that damage stays. You have support points which you can pay to repair them, but maybe you don't get to fully repair them. So there's like this whole like maintenance phase in between games.
Yeah, more of like a simulation style.
It was more simulation style. It was more, paperwork and record keeping, which in some regards is very, very exciting.
Yeah, some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, very fun. But this was very different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think the other part too is maybe the mission tracks, right? That was also pretty rigorous, right?
Correct.
Up and down, victory, defeat.
Right. So they were preset. Right, like if you beat the defender on this mission, you go to this track, and then for this track we had a set of missions you could pick from.
Yeah.
Right, and so on and so forth. That's right.
So we didn't really apply any of that. Yeah. So we intentionally chose this as more of a narrative. We came up with a story and a setting, and then we played that story out.
Right.
Letting the story evolve as the battle, as the dice dictated. Right. We didn't come into it with a prescribed end of the story. It really built itself, and I think that was really fun. I mean, if you want to talk about the whole narrative aspect, but we kick it off with an idea for the story, and then we play it out,
right?
And afterwards, it's like, okay, well, thinking through how would these people react to it, what happened on the board, and as we're texting about it, just sort of coming up with the next piece and like what would happen next, and
right.
I think that was pretty fun. I mean, from my perspective, it was cool going back and forth on like ideas.
Yeah, and so you and I, Dan, we started. You were mission 1.
Yeah.
Right, and that was planned in fall. Right,
yeah.
That was basically where you had established a beachhead.
Yeah.
On the beach.
Yeah.
And we had talked about like what sort of mix of forces we wanted, right? And I believe that was the one where you had the obnoxious hovercraft, right? Was that the one? You had the little Gabriels that kept shooting me in the back.
I think it was. I think so.
Yeah, the champion, right, and I don't remember what other mechs.
Yes.
But
yeah.
As we sort of talked about it, it was the idea that it was sort of this like foggy, like we didn't know, right? We played with the blip counters. We didn't know it was like a fog of war, right? We wanted that mystery for the viewers, and of course we know what's on the other side of the table just because this is a studio production, and all the miniatures are here in the studio, so it would be kind of hard to hide stuff, show up with like a hidden box of minis, but it is very fun to kind of when the blip counters are out, I don't know which of them is which mech. So Dan, starting with you, so we only played one.
Yeah.
But what was your opinion of, the vehicle mech and how that sort of played out in your opinion?
Honestly, I enjoy both aspects.
Okay.
I do love the combined forces. I like bringing tanks into the mix.
Yeah.
It definitely gives a kind of like a, in a way, it's like a hidden fear. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't know how powerful a tank or like how annoying a particular. Yeah, well, yes.
Thom talks about this all the time.
But like the Manticore is like, you're like, it's a tank, and then you fire at it 3 turns, and you're like, how are you still alive?
How is it still shooting it back? Yeah.
So like, I love that fact, and I love that aspect, and I feel like it gives like a whole nother view to the game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I hate it.
Right.
Because of that same exact reason. Like, if you're not bringing combined forces to somebody who is bringing, I feel like they have an advantage over you.
I would agree.
Yeah, there's no,
I mean, all right, so from my perspective is even beyond just our last campaign, Thom with the aerospace completely decimated.
Dan's
I'm still
salty.
Aaron brought, this was probably
some of the viewers
months ago, if not last year, was the artillery. When you brought that one to the
table.
that
was so good.
Yeah, like I was just, I'm like the test bed for getting massacred.
It's like our guinea pig for awful vehicles.
To me, I'm like, I hate all of this, everything and I'm like, I should bring these things. I should instead just being aerospace and artillery, and then 1 mech.
It's true. So the second one was the city one. That was really cool.
That was the city one.
Where I had a lot of vehicles. The SRM carriers, right. The Manicores, the J. Edgars, which I kept calling Drillsons.
And I was trying to
You had Van Damme and Stallone.
No, that was the third one. The second one was...
I thought you meant the second one we played.
No, the second episode of this campaign was the...
Canyon.
Yeah, and trying to download...
Bleach the servers.
Bleach the servers, that's right.
That was the Bleach the servers one.
That was a really fun one.
When you killed my Demolisher on turn 1. It's like...
I think I also did something similar in the third one too, didn't I? Didn't I headshot somebody?
I mean, I headshot his Raven.
Was that?
So
that was... Oh my god, yes!
You almost forgot how many times you've been headshotted in this campaign.
This campaign was awful for me. I hope it gets better.
Yeah. But, yeah. So I think, again, the noticeable thing about this campaign for me was that each of the missions, the objectives were really fun to me. They were different. Like, hidden objectives, you know...
The bonus stuff was neat.
Yeah, and like, the idea that I had to stand there and, like, even though it is just like a capture the objective kind of thing, but like when you say bleach the servers, like, oh, I'm trying to like download this thing before he gets here.
Right.
And, you know,
right.
There's a purpose to, it's not just hold the objective, it's hold the objective because you're doing this thing.
Yeah.
And it made it that much better. It's the same with like getting the guy out of the building.
That was so cool. That received high marks from the viewers.
That was the best.
Mission.
That was the most stressful game I've played in a long time. But yeah, that's what
I don't want to take credit, but that was kind of my idea.
It was.
That was on the text thread. It's true.
Yeah,
it is true.
You were actually supposed to play that one. I think,
was.
Right? Yeah, and that's why. So I was a pinch hitter on that. But
yes.
Yeah. And so the only thing is, I think that's something to really think about incorporating into your campaigns too. Mm-hmm. Is you have these mission briefings that you can do. Think about, again, narrating around them. Mm-hmm. Keep the crunch, keep the track, but really describe why. And all of a sudden, the players, there's like this another dimension. Yeah. And I think it came across in the video too. Not that you're all filming for YouTube, but
well, I will translate it into something I think that a lot of these guys and girls do, which is teach new people how to play. Right, and I was actually just talking to one of our patrons, like, oh, I've got this demo game, like, what do you think? And I was like, well, intro rules, do this, do that. But now that you say, what you just said, like, that's another great way to draw people
can
in.
Like grasp that.
And it like creates a great memorable experience. It's like, oh, do you remember when Stallone captured the dude out of the building, right?
You'll come in with me.
These things are like, right, it just makes the game, and that's really what BattleTech's about, right? Is the story, right? And so I think that's a really good point, right?
And then the last thing I will say on this is the last mission. So I think the denouement, the queen stage of this was definitely the city battle. Yeah. That was just so epic and fun.
Yeah.
But that last battle,
the dropship,
where we pulled in a dropship, the entire way that came about in our text threads, it was just really fun and organic. Mm-hmm. But the game itself, it wasn't nearly, you know, the city one just had something special, but it was so different, and getting to control a dropship, and I'm sure from your perspective it's probably pretty intimidating. Like, it was really fun and different.
I mean, it was like, you know, like in charge of the light brigade, like, you know, we're just like going up the hill against all these guns.
Yeah, it's a
Death Star for the best, right? It's the Death Star.
It's the entire first Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
right there. So there you go. So that was really cool. And again, that happened because we were just like thinking about, you know,
well, it's like I want to use this. I want to use this model, right?
Yeah.
Like I have this cool thing I want to use, so, right?
Yeah, I have a thing I want to use, and then we were saying, okay, well, we got this one mission where we got data off of a server, and now we got a guy, and like, why? Why would you do that? You're doing that because
you're a jerk.
Yeah,
like jerk. Periphery scumbuckets.
And I don't think that we knew going into it that the point was to like get in, get this stuff, and get out.
Right.
But that's how it wrote, and I think it made. You know, if I would have lost, we probably would have done something different.
Well, to be fair, right? So to be fair, initially, right behind the scenes, when we first conceptualized this, you know, it starts with like, what armies do I want to use, right? And it really is like, what haven't these people seen in a while, right?
What cool new models?
Right. What cool new models do we have, and what haven't these people seen in a while? So, you know, we had that whole Calderon Protectorate, first Tarian Pride, right? Beautifully painted by Mechhead Studio, by the way. Right, fantastic stuff. You looking at them over there?
I am.
They're gorgeous. So we had that, and then I have, you know, the Federated Sons, the new Avalon Hussars, which was again one of Kevin's brainchildren, the Prince's Deck, as they are called. They come from Casino World. Fun. Kevin had some great fluff for them. So I painted those up, right, featuring the new Caesar and the Demolisher from the upcoming Kickstarter, and I was like, how are these things going to come together?
Yeah.
Right. And that's really where it started. I was like, all right, so they're going to raid this outlying world because the Fed Sons is already preoccupied with the Draconis Combine. We had no idea that it was like gonna evolve into anything else, right?
Now it's kind of like the science world city thing.
Right.
It's their advanced
RTP.
Yeah. Their advanced research. Yeah. So
very cool.
So I think that's sort of my perspective on the campaign. Yeah. And the last part of it, you know, Dan, you were talking about the balance of forces.
Yeah.
With Alpha Strike, we haven't played Classic in a while, so I can't comment on Classic. Wink.
Yeah.
Wink. But in Alpha Strike, I think the game is just it's made to have combined forces. If you don't have it, the game is not nearly as dynamic and fun. None of these missions would have been nearly as fun without them.
Mm-hmm.
They bring a completely different tactic. There's like 2 games, 3 games running at the same time.
Right.
You think about that city battle. There's like these little, you know, the mechs are sort of duking it out while like we're trying to position our, you know, our tanks.
SRM carriers, right? And like,
yeah,
it was very cool.
Yeah, you're trying to defend a thing, and like you're not defending with mechs necessarily. You're defending with, you know, tanks, and yeah, it's very, very cool. I wouldn't play it any other way. But yeah, so that would be cool. So also incorporating like vehicles and even mechs, like don't necessarily have to be the OP super punchy mech. Think about building stuff where, again, you know, maybe it's a jammer mech. You know, maybe you have a fast moving mech that really all it's doing is
like
doing
ECM
probes,
bubbles,
whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. It really started making me think about that because we've never really embraced
like the electronic warfare.
Yeah. And it could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see like if we did a match like pirate on pirate kind of match where it's like 2 mechs and then everything else is
just all crazy vehicles.
Yeah, all crazy vehicles of all sorts.
Well, that was sort of like the Garrison one where like I only had 2 mechs, right? And they were mediocre. And it was all vehicles, right? Yeah, it makes it very fun, but just kind of coming full circle to what you guys were saying about combined arms. I do think it's like such a key way to play the game. For years, I mean, I only ever played with mechs.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because I mean, it's BattleTech.
It's BattleTech. It's about battle mechs,
warrior,
right?
You know, I mean,
right.
You're not tank warrior.
Right.
If we tied into the real world too, I mean, the plastics that are coming out of the Kickstarter, you're finally going to have like good scale
high
vehicles.
Quality.
I mean, it's going to be so much fun to play them, and so getting used to the rules around that, so you're ready to incorporate that into your play. If you're not. Great idea.
Right.
Them, so.
Yeah, and they're an essential part of the game. I think they make mechs feel different, right?
Way more fierce.
And I guess this is a good segue into what's next, because the one thing I will say is the one thing that has sort of drawn me a little bit back towards classic on the spectrum is the release of the new battlefield support roles that we played at Adepticon.
Yeah, which was really,
Long Dan, as he is now called. You could have been Long Tom. Could have been you.
Could have been Long Tom.
You could have been Long Tom, as we said before, but now it's just Long Dan.
I would. That alone, made it a lot of fun. And I agree with you with the classic and the combined arms. I think it's going to be like a game changer when it comes to that.
So what's next for Dan? Well, what do you want to do next?
Personally?
Yeah, curious.
I just want to roll dice.
Okay.
I don't care if it's classic, if it's Destiny, or if it's Alpha Strike. I like campaigning. I enjoy the more streamlined narrative. I don't like, for me, you and for us, breaking it down and being like, okay, well, I have these lances, and then having to deal with salvage and repairing. That's one thing if we're playing home. We're not playing
for the entertainment.
Yeah, for the entertainment.
I agree. It becomes a little
well,
tedious.
It doesn't translate, and that's something we talked about in text. Is like there's a different way you play for the camera, because not everything, like the work you do behind the scenes to maintain your
forces, and nobody's watching us go through the mathematics on that.
Right. It's just, and we're not going to make a video of like me like writing on a loose leaf piece of paper like the cost of your left arm actuator, right? Like that's just not enjoyable to watch, right?
So that's where I'm like I enjoy like we just the streamlined narrative where it's free form, and it's kind of like, what do we have? Let's make that work.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, so it's interesting. I love campaigns. They are more difficult, obviously, to orchestrate and write when they're just when we're doing the more rigorous path. However, I would say there's something about classic that lends itself to that math, because in Alpha Strike, it's like I deal 10 pips, you're dead. In classic, you can like mangle a mech, and it's like crawling around on the board, and it's still alive, and the battle ends, and you're like, all right, let me see if I want to fix this puppy up. Like Alpha Strike, that doesn't like translate, because there's no like limb loss there, so you can like field that, that thunderbolt that's missing an arm, in like the third battle, and it's kind of fun. You're like, ooh, remember,
maybe nothing was attached to that arm, so it's just kind of
or maybe just on the money to repair it. But it would be cool to have a more where we could sort of blend the things together, I don't know. So I need to think about how we might do that if we decided to go back to classic. I would be interested from the viewers. Interested to hear, do you want to see more Alpha Strike? Do you want to see classic with the new battlefield support rules,
or something else?
Or do you want to see Destiny? Right, we have a cult following, on Patreon of people that absolutely love Destiny. Thom and I were talking about a flavor of basically tabletop Destiny, right, which would involve mechs, right? So like me, you, Thom, Rick, there would be basically a game master narrating the battle, but like I could do it. Let's assume I'm the game baron for a moment. Let us assume this. I could have infantry, like hidden units and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we really can't do in a one-on-one setting. The other thing we can do is, more, I think, free form narrate what the mechs are doing. Like, you want to punch out the glass in the second floor and like put your flamer from your Vulcan in and like cook everybody in the office, right? Like, I don't know. Like we could do
the building.
I'm pretty sure that's genocide.
Or like I want to see it's like glass all, it's a glass building. I want to shoot through the building out the other side. Like there's just certain things you are restricted from doing in a tabletop game, whereas if it was sort of a more of a blend of, hey, we can set up this beautiful terrain, but let's play it like it's an RPG. Everybody's in like a mech or vehicle, and so there's a lot of different things that we could do. So tell us what you would like to see. We'd be very interested to hear about that. I do think there is indeed a lot of Alpha Strike happening.
You mean like beyond us, or do you mean just our?
No, beyond us. I think Alpha Strike is, as someone said, booming right now, right? But there are lots of different ways to play BattleTech.
There is, yeah.
So, curious what your favorite way to play and favorite way to watch is. But yeah, so I don't know what's next. We'll see. Definitely more BattleTech, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on this narrative campaign, Thom?
I think it was a great success.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun playing it. I think we evolved our play style in a direction that I like. It made it, again, I think it really, for filming, I think it came through really good.
Yeah.
And just as a player, it was just so much fun. I had so much fun doing it.
I didn't have fun losing initiative, but otherwise it was fun.
Yeah.
I lost so much, Dan.
You did.
There's
I'm
comments.
Gonna be like Zaz. I'm gonna get the tattoos of all the times that he uses initiative. I'm gonna be covered in little.
Oh my god! Yes, little hash marks.
Yeah, little hash marks.
People were leaving all kinds of comments like, oh, it's uncanny how much you use it. They're like, oh, you should try the initiative deck. I was like, that won't matter. All right, like they're like, but you discard the card, so like eventually you'll have to win. I'm like, no,
I think
I still will not win.
Yeah, I think the dice gods know how good of a player he is, and they're just like trying to balance
the
universe a little bit for us lowly folk.
I don't know.
But yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think it was a great success.
Yeah, I thought
we learned and we got some good ideas to move forward with.
Yeah, it was very fun. Dan?
I'm bummed I didn't get to participate more than I wanted to.
Well, these things happen.
But the campaign doesn't have to end. We could have an interstellar space battle and chase.
Let's do it.
Maybe that's what's happening. See, look, this is how it happens.
I'm not gonna lie. That last rant that Aaron went on, I literally in the 20 seconds, I came up with like 4 ideas. So I was like,
he has 4 ideas, folks. Count them. So I have a couple closing thoughts, Thom.
Okay.
Of course.
Subscribe, like.
Oh.
Okay. It is super critical. So we're almost at 11,000 subscribers.
I know.
That went fast.
We're still trying to get our hint to sponsor us.
Hint Waters is not good. They're not going to sponsor us.
I think they watch this. They have to watch this.
By now.
By now.
They have to. Either that.
If we get to 11,000,
or we'll get sued for like copyright or whatever.
Like stop mentioning us in your videos.
Subscribe, like, and then of course come on over to Patreon if you really want to help us keep the lights on. Thank you very much to all of our patrons. There are 350 or so patrons.
Yeah. Well, and the patrons actually get they really get some great input on the direction of the content that we make.
Well, I mean, basically what they say is supersedes everything else.
Yeah.
If you want ultimate voting rights.
Yeah, they're Class A stock. You're all Class B.
You're Class B stock.
Non-voting. Sorry, guys.
Oh my God, that's not really true.
That's how we
but they do get a lot of input on the channel. We frequently post up polls. We frequently get feedback from them.
They have my home phone number.
They have Tom's home phone number. Dan does not have a home phone.
Nope.
But if you subscribe on Patreon, we can actually afford to buy Dan a home phone.
Yeah,
so we're on a buy Dan a home phone drive. Right? Hello, this is Dan.
Hold on, it's gonna take me a couple more minutes.
But yeah, so Patreon. The other thing is Terrainify.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Terrainify has got some sick stuff. We can't even talk about some of it. Some of it's so new, but keep your eyes out. We're gonna have a review coming out of some exciting stuff. It's actually not BattleTech related, but it is so hot.
Yeah, if I can sort of wax poetic on Terrainify. Again, the other thing I didn't even mention about this campaign was I think that you're the terrain master. I think you stepped up your game this.
Thank you.
I don't know if you learned some new tricks or had some new concepts, but it really worked. And I think again, Terrainify really takes that terrain to another level.
It really does.
The spires,
they're so good.
It's just, it looks so good.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
Yeah, even the flock tills and stuff like that. Very, very good stuff. Yeah,
agree with that. Rivers that everybody loves the rivers. I love the rivers.
I got that I think from playmat.eu. Yeah. Everyone keeps asking me, and that was actually one of our patrons. You know who you are. Linked me to those.
Thank y'all.
So those are really, really cool.
So I just want to give you a little bit of props for that.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. That was so nice of Thom. It's on film. It's on the internet forever.
Like and subscribe to make it feel.
The other thing is Aries Games and Minis.
Yes.
All right. So you buy some stuff from Terrainify, you buy the rest of the stuff from Aries Games and Minis. Aries Games and Minis has got all the books, the dice, the minis, as it is in the name. Also, Hardware Studios is sold at Aries Games and Minis. And Sageprint Labs, which we recently dropped a review video on their aerospace fighters.
The freshest video.
Also over.
It is today, right?
It would have released today. Yeah. So now you know when we are filming this.
Great thumbnail on that.
Yeah. Beautiful thumbnail. Yeah. Thank you. I've been upping my thumbnail game, Thom. Upping all sorts of games. But anyway, that's all I got. You have anything else?
I got nothing.
Dan's got nothing. Tom's got nothing. Guys, we're all wrapped up. We hope you enjoyed this after action report. Don't forget to tell us in the comments what you want to see next. We'd love to hear it. But that said, thank you so much for watching. And of course, stay tuned. Always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a good night.